Boom! Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Shereen and I'm really glad you're here. Today, I'm giving you my take on my hospital experience when I went to give birth to Zayden. Zayden was born October 2020 and he was born at the Stanford Children's Hospital in Palo Alto, and overall my experience was amazing. So if you want to stop watching the video here, you got it. But keep watching because I will tell you everything that made my experience amazing. And here's why I am making this video. I was really relying on the hospital tours because when I gave birth to Myra, I took the hospital tour. I was able to see the rooms. I asked all the questions that I had and everything went so smooth. When I was giving birth to Zayden, it was of course during the pandemic and the hospital tours were canceled and I couldn't even look at the rooms or meet the staff or learn anything about the hospital that I would have typically learned on a hospital tour. So I'm gonna tell you how I handled it prior to giving birth. In case you're not giving birth at the same hospital, which is actually likely, you can take the same steps towards your hospital and get the same kind of information that I did prior. But if you're giving birth at the Stanford Children's Hospital in Palo Alto, this information in this video will be very accurate to you. I will break this video into like 3 sections. The first will be the staff, like my experience with the staff. The second will be my experience as far as like the room and the accommodation. And the third will be the menu and the food and everything else that went along with our stay. So first, let's talk about the staff. Oh my God, the staff was amazing. They were so good. And let me tell you, it's not like I was lucky that when I was there for the few days that I was there, I happened to have like the best staff. You guys, I went in labor 3 times and okay, that sounded wrong. I went into false labor twice prior to me actually being in labor. And the 2 times before when I visited the hospital, the staff was so amazing and they were so understanding and they were so calm and they were like, it's okay. I was so embarrassed. The second time when I thought I was in labor and I wasn't in labor and they were sending me home, I was leaving like this. I was so embarrassed because I felt like I wasted their time. I wasted resources that could have actually gone to someone who is in labor. And they were like, oh my God, don't worry about it. You come to the hospital when you think you need to be seen. And they were so understanding and they were so good about it. And when I actually went in labor the 3rd time, which I was really in labor when I went, the same nurse that had seen me the day before, she actually had like a patient of her own, but she like kept checking on me and she helped my new nurse to like take care of me and what my file is, because when I actually went in labor, I was in so much pain. I couldn't answer any of the questions they were asking me. Like they were trying to pull up my chart and they were trying to like, you know, submit information and let the doctor know that I'm here and all that. And I was out of breath. Like my contractions were so strong, I could barely answer any of their questions. And that nurse remembered everything from the day before. And she was like, oh yeah, her name is this is her file, blah, blah, blah. And she was just so handy and so helpful. And then I told them up front, like, I need an epidural. I can't take this pain. And they immediately requested the epidural. The wait time for the epidural was about 40 minutes. And they were just amazing. Like my whole experience was like giving birth. I didn't feel like I was alone. I felt like there was constantly someone taking care of me. Someone was constantly taking care of my husband. Like he needed a blanket, a pillow. They dimmed the lights for us and everything was just so well. When we moved from the labor and delivery room to the recovery room, everything was so well planned. Like before we left the labor and delivery room and headed our way to the recovery room, we already knew which room we were going to. Like they had already assigned the room to us. And I remember being really hungry after I gave birth to him. And I was asking the nurse, I said, can I get something to eat? And she said, yeah, we're about to move you to your room, but let me order you something and have it go to your recovery room. And I thought that was so well coordinated. Like literally, she gave me the menu, which I will talk about in a second. Like they have an elaborate menu in my opinion. So she gave me the menu, she had me and my husband, we both picked what we wanted to eat. She put in the order and had it go to our room. And when we got to the recovery room, the food was like on its way. And I think the food came within like 15-20 minutes after we had arrived. And it was just so good and it was all planned out really well. All of my nurses from the recovery room, because they switch every 12 hours, I think, and I was there for full 48 hours, they were all so great. There were 2 pediatricians, they were both great. They came to see Zayden 2 days in a row, confirmed that everything was good with him. He got all the exams that are needed for a newborn right in our room. They didn't even take him to the nursery to shower him. They showered him in my room, which I thought was amazing. The other thing I loved about the staff, like they were so down to earth. Like At least that's how I felt. That's my experience. Like, I thought I was doing so well that I can get up by myself and use the restroom by myself. And I actually was feeling pretty good, but they just really kept a close eye on me just because. Like, even though I was telling them I was feeling good, they still took good care of me. Every time I wanted to use the restroom, they helped me go to the bathroom, and they were like down there, like helping me, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, like, that's like gross, and you're willing to do it for me. You don't even know me, you know? So that I felt really like touched by that. Also, for the first 48 hours after the baby was born, they totally gave us our space. Like, they just came in the room for the necessities, or if I called them because I needed anything. Otherwise, I swear it felt so relaxing. The room was quiet, everything was so calm, everything was available to us. It was just great. I must have dealt with like 6 or 7 nurses, and I can't think of one thing that is somewhat negative to say about any of the nurses, which tells me that they have a pretty good system in place, and that is probably going to be your experience as well. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about is the room. That was like my biggest question mark, and let me tell you why. I actually called the hospital prior to giving birth because I had like a list of questions for them, and most of my questions had to do with like, what do you provide, what do I need to bring with me, what is the routine for like the room setup and all that. And the information I got from those phone calls really just helped me pack my hospital bag. And I already released a video on what I packed in my hospital bag and what I actually used, and I'll leave a link for it in this video so you can go back and watch that. But when I called the hospital a few times prior to my visit to give birth, I really didn't get much information on the room, and I was so curious. Like, is it big? Is it small? Is there a shower? Is there like a bed for my husband, or is it a chair that opens up? Like, I was so confused. So basically, when I called them, they said that technically, they can't tell me that I'm gonna get a private room because all the rooms are set up to be semi-private. So each room is set up to take 2 hospital beds. It has 2 TVs. It has 2 monitors, like, you know, the monitors behind the bed. So the rooms are set up for 2 patients. I got the feeling when I talked to them on the phone that they were like, it's 100% you're gonna get your own room, but they couldn't really make that promise because technically, if there were like 100 women giving birth on the same day, they couldn't promise me my own room. Does that make sense? But we definitely had our own room. The room had a bathroom, and then the sink and the mirror area was outside the bathroom. So they're 2 separate settings. Now, the sink area came with the mirror on the top, so if you wanted to do your makeup or you wanted to do your hair or get ready, there are outlets nearby. And on both sides of the sink, there's like tall closets where you can hang your coat or put your makeup pouch or plug in your flat iron or whatever that you need. I thought it was a really cute setup because it felt like it's my own dresser. I actually got up and got ready at night, like I washed my face and put my moisturizer on. Now, on that sink, which is the only sink you have in the room, the water temperature is always warm. So you can't make the water cold or hotter. It's always at the same temperature. The bathroom seemed a bit too tight. Like, seriously, they should have made the bathroom a little bit bigger. So the bathroom had the toilet, and it had a garbage can, and then it had the shower, all in like one row. And then when I was in the bathroom, and then I had to like turn my body just so I can shut the door. And then I had to shut the door first in order for me to be able to open the shower door. And then when I opened the shower door, it kind of like bumped in the trash can. So I had to go in the shower with the side of my body. And I felt like that is so not convenient for someone who just gave birth. Like, I took a shower on my first day, and I was standing okay, I felt fine, but the nurses didn't like it that I took a shower because they thought that I couldn't stand in the shower by myself. Like, they thought it was too soon. I felt okay, I took the shower and nothing happened, it was fine. But if someone was not feeling okay and they really wanted to take a shower or get some warm water running on their body, I feel like them getting in the shower and getting out of the shower would be challenging because of how tight the bathroom is. The bed was super comfortable, so even though the room accommodates 2 beds for 2 patients, only I had a bed. The other section where the other bed would have typically gone had a sofa that opens up to be a bed. So my husband actually had a very decent space to sleep, and they gave him blankets and pillows and everything that he needed. We didn't feel like we were short of anything at all. The speaker for the TV is in the remote that's right by your bed. You know, there's like a remote on the right side of the bed, and that's where you would call the nurse or like ask them to come over if you need anything. And the speaker is actually part of that remote. So when you switch the TV on also from the same place, you can switch the channels and you can raise the volume or turn it down, and you would hear anything that's on the TV in that speaker. It's very personal style speaker, and I think they did that on purpose in case you have 2 people staying in the room. One TV is not being too loud for the other patient. The downside is my husband and I were actually watching TV, and only I could hear the TV, and even though he was sitting on the sofa next to me, he couldn't hear the TV. And the only way he could hear the TV is if he turned the other TV and get the same channel and adjust the volume on the other remote for him in order for us to like be listening to the same thing. He didn't care. He just like stayed close to me, which was fine. It's not like a big deal at all, at least not for us, but that's just something to note. On the left side of the bed, there was like a really nice chair and like a little table. I thought it was just so nice because when they gave us all the paperwork to fill out for like the birth certificate and like the discharge papers, I just like actually got out of the bed and I went and I sat on the chair, used the table like a desk, and it felt really good to be doing something different. And there was a window right by that chair, so it just felt like, I don't know, it felt nice. The room layout was really nice and it was spacious and like great. In the room, there's like a bassinet for your baby, of course. In the bassinet, there's like 2 drawers, and in the drawers, they've stuffed them with diapers, wipes, and they had a bunch of swaddles for the baby. Now, as far as my needs as a woman who just gave birth, like what I need for recovery, they had like nipple cream, they give you ice pads, disposable underwears, like everything that you would need. And there was plenty. Even when I thought I was running out, they brought me back more within like 15 minutes. So I ended up staying in the disposable underwear with the pads and the ice packs, and that was so helpful, and it was just exactly what I needed. All the stuff that was for me, like my recovery, they kept that stuff in the bathroom in a bag, like a tote bag, and they just refilled the tote bag as I ran out, and they told me that I can take the tote bag home, which I took home. I don't even know where it is right now, but they gave me a tote bag with anything that was left over that they had given me to use. The other thing that I requested for me as like a mom who wants to breastfeed at least for a little bit, I asked them to give me some pump supplies. I wanted to try to pump at the hospital. They have a pretty heavy duty pump, and when I asked for the pump stuff, that's actually the one thing that got delayed a little bit. Like I think I asked for it at nighttime and maybe the nurse got busy or something, or maybe I fell asleep, to be honest, I don't remember. But I didn't get the pump kit, like the bottles and everything that I would need to use the pump machine, until like the next morning. And then the next morning was actually the day we were leaving, so I didn't feel like using it. But they did bring me like a whole crate like full of like supplies to use with the pump. The other thing I want to talk about, it doesn't have to do with the room itself, but not too far from the room, there's like a cafeteria space where like you can send your hubby or your partner to get you like water, and they have like snacks and juices and coffee and tea in that space where you can just like go and help yourself and bring it back to your room. And they also have a fridge where you can store like anything that you brought from home. Like let's say you brought your own sandwiches or your own meals, you can just label it and put it in the fridge. My mom actually did send me food the second day, and I labeled it, put it in the fridge, and it was still there, like nobody touched it. And they also have like a storing system for breast milk, so if you do decide to pump, you can store your milk in the fridge or freezer, and there's a way to like label it so it stays like yours, like nobody's gonna touch it or anything. The next thing I want to talk about is the food and the menu and how it worked. So they had a very good menu, and the menu stayed in the room with us, and I could read the menu and place my order. There is a cutoff time for placing orders. I think it's like 9 p.m. Sorry, I forgot that specifically, but I think 9 p.m. is the last time you can place an order for your food. You basically pick up the phone and tell them what you want. But this is how it works, okay? Technically, only the patient can place an order for meals or snacks or anything like to eat or drink, because you're the patient, you're staying there. So if my husband wanted to eat, I had to call and just ask for food like it was for me so that he could eat with me. They didn't have any problem with how many calls I made or how many meals I ordered. The only thing is, every time you place an order for food, you get a tray, and they limit the tray to 7 items. So 7 items is actually a lot of food if you're ordering like entrees. So if I ordered a main entree for me and my husband, a snack for me and him, and then a dessert for me and him, that's like 6 items. So every time I called to order 1 tray, it was always enough food for me and him. Not at any time during our stay did any of us feel like we were hungry, there wasn't enough stuff, there wasn't enough options or anything. And I have to say, all the options on their menu are pretty good, and they are very accommodating. Like, there were some options that were vegan or vegetarian. I would just say, like, if you eat halal only, which we don't, like we eat halal and non-halal meats, you will be limited to the vegetarian options, and in that case you may not have enough variety. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. But other than that, I felt like the menu was really good. When we were leaving the hospital, everything was good. We just told the nurse that we were ready to go home. They called somebody to escort us to the front door. And at the front door, we found out that you can validate your parking. So we did, because our car was there for those few days. There is plenty of parking on the facility. Like, my husband didn't feel at any time that he had to like drive in circles to find parking or anything. And that was it basically. So that was our stay. Everything went so well. I can't think of one thing to complain about. I feel like it's already such a beautiful experience, and everything went so well for me labor-wise. Like, I didn't have any complication, alhamdulillah, and everything was so smooth. So I feel like also when you're in that state of mind where you're like just so grateful for everything you've been giving, you really don't see the things you could possibly complain about. And I'm a very like happy person in general, so I'm not like constantly looking for things to be nitpicky about. So for me, I would say overall the experience was great. I wish I took some pictures to insert in this video just so I can show you, but to be honest, in that moment, taking pictures for a YouTube video was like not even on my mind. I'm not even gonna tell you, it was like the least of my worries. It was not even on my mind. I was really enjoying my baby and my husband and just like being all together and being so grateful for having him. So I did not really think about it at all, to be honest. But I hope that my description in this video kind of like brings you enough information. Now, I know this video is very helpful for anyone who's planning to give birth at the Stanford Children's Hospital. Now, if you're not going to the hospital, or if you're going anywhere else in the nation really, here's my recommendation to you. Make a list of everything you want to know about the hospital. Any questions that you have, what's included. Call the hospital and address all the questions that you have, because you have every right to ask all the questions that you have and get the answers so that you can better prepare yourself for your hospital visit. Especially, again, if the hospital tours are not available. That's all I wanted to share with you guys as far as my experience. I hope I covered a lot of things and answered a lot of the questions that you might have, especially in this difficult time of COVID when so many things are unknown. I hope that I provided you with some information to go about your labor and delivery. If you're not subscribed already to my channel, please do so. I promise I have some really exciting content coming your way. But if not, I totally understand. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week. Bye.